Hey guys, this is Will at Third and Long. Today we are going to be breaking down the AP Poll top 25 games, who's going to win, who is going to lose, and this is all for week 4 of the 2023 college football season. Hit that like button and subscribe, and let's get started. The first game that we're looking at is at 12 p.m. on the Big Ten Network. We have 3-0 Rutgers coming to number 2 Michigan, who's also 3-0. Harbaugh should be back this weekend. That's a pretty big deal for Michigan fans. Both of these teams have pretty good defenses, but slow down. Do not sell me that Rutgers is back and that there's some great team. They are 3-0, good for Greg Schiano, but I'm not fully buying it. Now, do not take this game for granted because two of the last 3 meetings between these two teams have been one-score games. So this will probably be close at first. But Michigan does have the number 1 defense in the country, only giving up 5.3 points per game. I think Michigan's going to pull it out about 34-3. JJ McCarthy had a very bad game last weekend, but I definitely think he will rebound. But Michigan wins the game. They wear down Rutgers. Corum will run for over 100 yards. Next game we have coming up, a really good game, 12 p.m. on ABC. Number 4, Florida State at Clemson. Clemson should definitely be ranked. I know they fell out of the last 25 2 weeks ago, but come on. They've been looking pretty good since they lost to Duke, so they definitely deserve to be back in the top 25. Jordan Travis is having a Heisman year for Florida State this year, but he did kind of get hurt at the very end of the game versus Boston College last week. But he's supposed to be playing. He should be back. Cade Klubnik has been looking a lot better since the loss to Duke. They do have Shipley at running back. Florida State, talented team. Both teams have really good defensive lines. So to me, who is going to win this game is who can give their quarterback basically the best protection. Who will have the less pressure on the quarterback. Now, I picked Clemson to win this game at the beginning of the year preseason. I'm sticking with that pick. I do think Clemson will win the game. I'm not saying that because Florida State had a close game versus Boston College. That does not matter. I think Florida State is a very good team. I think they're a little overrated, but they're still a very good team. I said whoever wins this game, they may very well meet in the ACC championship, and the other team will win. So if Clemson wins game 1, Florida State may very well win the rematch and could potentially still get in the playoffs. But what I'm saying is do not overlook Clemson because of what happened to Duke. I do think Clemson will pull this game out, get the upset. Clemson wins 34-24. Next game we have is another really good game at 12 p.m. on Fox. You have number 16 Oklahoma at Cincinnati, who's 2-1. Welcome to the Big 12, Cincinnati, and we're now getting into conference play. Cincinnati has a really good rushing attack. They are number 8 in the country, 239.3 yards per game. Very decent team. Do not overlook Cincinnati, but Dillon Gabriel is having a low-key Heisman season so far. He probably has the best statistical season of any quarterback right now in the country. No one's talking about it. He has 905 yards, 11 touchdowns, 1 pick. He had like 30-something passes last week and only had 3 incompletions. Very efficient. Oklahoma is looking completely different this year, especially on the defensive side of the ball. That D-line has looked great, but they will be tested this week versus a rushing team, Cincinnati, who will be seeking to basically control the clock and keep the ball out of Dillon Gabriel's hands. But I think Oklahoma is going to pull out the win and get a win 38-20. Next game we have is going to have a lot of hype to it. At 3:30 on ABC, we have number 19 Colorado at number 10 Oregon. So another top 25 matchups. A lot of top 25 matchups this week, finally, because people are starting to get into conference play. Both teams are 3-0. We have Deion Sanders on one side. We have Dan Lanning on the other side. Sanders at quarterback had a great year. 1,251 yards, 10 touchdowns, 1 pick. But Oregon has looked like a very solid team. Defense has been questionable at times, so they will definitely give up some yards. But that offense has been legit. So has Colorado's. But Oregon is a lot deeper of a team, and that will show in this game. Because this is the best team that Colorado has played so far. So they will actually get tested, and they will see how the deeper team will win the game because the Ducks can run the ball. They can throw the ball. Bo Nix is just like Sanders. They're both having Heisman years so far. I think Oregon is going to get the win. Colorado doesn't have Travis Hunter. That's not why they're going to lose. It's just depth once you start getting into conference play. I think Oregon will win 48-28. This next game, I kind of flip-flop back and forth. This is a really tough game to call. So we have on 3:30 on Fox, we have number 22 UCLA at number 11 Utah. Kyle Whittingham, great coach, very underappreciated. Obviously, Chip Kelly is a great coach. But Dante Moore, the 5-star quarterback for the Bruins, is a 5-star freshman. So he hasn't seen a lot. This will definitely be the best team he's played, the best defense he played. The Utes are always well coached. However, the Utes are extremely overrated. They're not the number 11 team in the country. They've just kind of fallen into that position because they've been winning their games, but they have not been winning them consistently at a high rate of play, let's say. Now, Cam Rising, is he playing? Is he not playing? We don't really know, but it's kind of getting old at this point. So I'm just going to say he's not playing till he actually shows up on the field. So they'll be starting Nate Johnson. Great game last week. He runs, he throws, but I think that, like I said, I keep going back and forth, but I'm just going to go with Utah and say they win 27-24, but I could very well see that being flip-flop the other way because I don't think the Utes are good. They're a top 25 team, but I think they're going to lose 4 games this year. But I'm just going to go with them. I think their defense carries the day, and they win 27-24. But I would not be surprised if the Bruins win either. Next game, this is a tough one. 3:30 CBS, number 15 Ole Miss at number 13 Alabama. Alabama's finally out of the top 10 after 10 years of having lived there. So Alabama has a lot of problems. Saban has a lot of problems. I did not like his coordinator hires. I did not like Kevin Steele. I did not like Tommy Rees. I did pick them to lose to Texas. So Alabama is what I said they would be at the beginning of the year. I stated they could not run the ball. Their defense was not good on the secondary, and they had no quarterback. People thought that they were just going to be good because they are Bama, but that's just not the way things work. So they are what they are, but Milroe is back in at quarterback. Now, he was not very good when he started, but gosh, Tyler Buckner was trash at Notre Dame. He's even worse at Alabama. Ty Simpson, not the answer. That game last week versus USF was an abomination. So will they do better? I'm not going to say they'll do better till they actually do it on the field. Bama is way better than they have been playing. They are a top 3 talented roster. They should be playing better. Will they get the win here? This is tough. I'm just going to go out on a ledge. I picked Bama to win this game at the beginning of the year, but you can't keep stinking every week and me just keep giving you the benefit. At some point, until you prove me wrong, I'm just going to say, you know what, you are going to lose now. So I'm going to say that Ole Miss pulls this game out really close. Ole Miss wins 28-27. Jackson Dart has had a great year. If Quinshon Judkins is back at running back, because he didn't play last week, I think Ole Miss wins. They control the game, and they can actually run the ball. Alabama can't. So now, if he doesn't play, they lose. But I think he plays. Ole Miss wins 28-27. Next game we have at 3:30 p.m. on CBS, number 18 Duke versus UConn, who's 0-3. UConn is not good at all. They're pretty much garbage. Riley Leonard has been having a great year at quarterback for Duke. He's been throwing, he's been running. However, Duke has Notre Dame next week. So I think they're going to have their eyes set on next weekend. So they're not going to give it their all this week. They're going to win, but I think they're not going to put too much in because they want to make sure they get into next week fully healthy. Duke plays good defense. They play good special teams. They get the win, but it's a conservative game, just trying to get into next weekend. But they win 31-17. Next game we have at 3:30 p.m. on ESPN2, number 20 Miami at Temple. Miami's 3-0. Temple is 2-1. Temple is not a bad team. This game's going to be in Philadelphia. No one wants to be there. Temple will have 5 fans there. Miami will have 1 fan there. It's probably going to be a little rainy. So Miami will not be motivated for this game, but Temple will be. So I definitely think they're going to put up a fight, but I think Miami's talent is going to pull the game out. Second half, they'll have a really big third quarter. Tyler Van Dyke is having an under-the-radar Heisman year. 822 yards, 8 touchdowns, 1 pick. Miami looks good on both sides of the ball, on offense and defense. So congratulations to Mario Cristobal there. Miami is scoring this year 46.7 points per game. So the offense is looking legit. Tyler Van Dyke is completing 76.4% of his passes. I think Miami pulls it out 45-17. Could this game be low-key close and Miami wins like a 28-20? But yes, that is very potentially, just because nobody wants to be there. But I do think they'll get the win, and they'll get the win convincingly, but it will take to the second half to pull away. Next game we have at 4 p.m. on the SEC Network, UTSA at number 23 Tennessee. Tennessee fell like 13 spots after they lost to Florida, deservedly so. Joe Milton has not looked good so far. He's not looking bad, but he's not looking good for a Josh Heupel offense. So people are wanting to see the 5-star quarterback now. They think it's time. Will he get rolled out at some point? Potentially, yes, because Tennessee's season is still in front of them. So they still have a lot of time to right the ship and get things back on track. They still haven't played Georgia yet. So if you're going to start that guy, get him ready to play so he's had reps prior to starting out this season versus Georgia. But UTSA does have a very good run defense. They're only giving up 2.9 yards per carry. But let's be honest, Tennessee's the way more talented team, and I think they'll be a little upset over what happened last week. They were the better team last weekend, but Florida had such a big first half that they could basically do nothing the second half and just run the clock out. But Tennessee will get the win 38-20. Next game that we're looking at, 7 p.m. on ESPN, we have 2-1 Arkansas at number 12 LSU. I said that LSU would lose to Florida State. I thought they were overrated, but I'm not saying they're bad. A very good team. Brian Kelly, great coach. Jaden Daniels is having a great year. A Heisman-level year so far this year, but I think he runs the ball way too much. They need to get a running back number 1, but Navar's 24 receptions, 393 yards, 3 touchdowns so far. So that guy's on pace to have like 1,600 yards this year. Very good team, very good offense, very good defense, very good defensive line. Do not overlook Arkansas. They're not a bad team, but the SEC is a pretty deep conference, so they always win, 7 games or so. But they're not a bad team, so they usually play close, and they usually play physical. But Dan Enos at offensive coordinator is complete garbage. I have zero faith in him. I think LSU wins 35-20. Next game we have at 7 p.m. on Fox. This is a pretty good game. We have number 14 Oregon State 3-0 at number 21 Washington State, who's also 3-0. This is the no home bowl, basically, because both of these teams have no home once the season ends. What a shame. They're both ranked, and they're having really good years, and nobody wants it. And that's really sad, and it's a disgrace that happened. But both having really good years, DJU having a really good year at quarterback for Oregon State, Cameron Ward at Washington State, 1,000 yards passing, 9 touchdowns. They're having a great year in that air raid system that they're running. Now, who's going to win? I kind of went back and forth here. First, I was with Oregon State because of DJU, and I thought they'd be able to run the ball, thus they'll be able to control the clock. But then I thought of when Washington State beat Wisconsin, who had a good defense, and they controlled the game. They got the win. So then at the very end, I changed my scores, and I'm calling for an upset here. I think Washington State wins 30-27. I'm not fully solidified in that, but Washington State has shown they can beat a more talented team that's a physical team. So I think they'll get the win and they'll beat Oregon State. But congrats to both teams for being ranked and putting up a fight the last year of the Pac-12, showing that they belong in Power 5 football. The next game we have at 7 p.m. on ESPN Plus and the SEC Network. We have Charlotte at 1-2, who's not a bad team, at number 25 Florida, coming off of that win versus Tennessee. Florida, I'm not buying in that there's some top 25 teams. Congrats to getting the win versus Tennessee, but you've got a lot of losses coming down the road. So don't get too pumped up right now. Now, the running game is looking good. They cannot throw the ball, though, to save their life. That's fine. They can control the clock. That's not going to work once they start facing better teams. But they will get the win here, 35-14. Get as many wins as you can, because your only goal right now is trying to get a bowl, which I think would be a good accomplishment given how tough their schedule was this year. They probably had the toughest schedule that I saw on paper. Next game that we have, 7:30 on ESPN2, UAB at number 1 Georgia. Georgia has not looked impressive so far this year. They have no run game. I've not bought into Carson Beck. I think they have a lot of problems. They've definitely taken a step back, but they're still a very good team with a very good defense. But come on, guys, you have to win the first half at some point versus these really bad teams that you are playing. This is another really bad team that you're playing. I think Georgia has a little faster of a start this game, gets the running game going, because UAB's rush defense is god-awful. So Georgia gets the win here. I think they're going to win 49-10, so they'll have a pretty decent game. The next game we have at 7:30 on ABC, number 3 Texas, who did not have a good game last weekend, versus Baylor, who's having an awful year. People are definitely calling for Dave Aranda's job, and deservedly so. They've had a really bad last 2 years. Now, Texas has Quinn Ewers, they have Brooks, they have Worthy. This team is loaded on offense, they're loaded on defense. They are the way better team. Baylor has Shipping out, so they're still starting Sawyer Robinson at quarterback. Texas will get the win, and they'll get the win 38-16. Next game is the game of the weekend at 7:30 p.m. on NBC. Number 6 Ohio State Buckeyes traveling to number 9 Notre Dame. Ohio State has had a really slow start to the year. Kyle McCord has not looked good at quarterback. They have not gotten the offense going. Notre Dame has been consistent every single week. They basically look like the same team every week. But this is their first real challenge. This is also the first challenge for the Buckeyes. Now, Sam Hartman has, to me, been the number 1 transfer coming into this year for any team. He has 1,061 yards, 13 touchdowns, no picks. Estimate at running back, 63 carries, 521 yards, 5 touchdowns. Now, the Buckeyes do have a lot of weapons. They have not played a great defense yet. They have not had to score. They've been playing very close versus very bad teams. Yes, they did finally light it up last week. Is that enough to carry that momentum into this game? Possibly. I'm not overlooking the Buckeyes. They are extremely talented and should have been playing a lot better. Ryan Day is a great coach, and he definitely knows how to score points. So do not overlook them, but I'm going to call for the upset here. I think it could be flip-flop, but I'm calling for Notre Dame to beat Ohio State and win 31-27. Ohio State's won 6 straight games versus Notre Dame. That has to end at some point, and I think it ends this year. Notre Dame wins, like I said, 31-27. Next game we have at 7:30 on CBS, number 24 Iowa, who has no business being ranked, versus number 7 Penn State. Both teams are 3-0. Both teams have elite defenses, but only one of them has a serviceable offense, and that's definitely not Iowa, who their offense is atrocious. It's a complete disgrace to football. Kirk Ferentz, like I always say, needs to fire his son, but he won't. Anyways, Penn State has had no turnovers this year. They will definitely get their first one this weekend because Iowa has a great defense. So they'll definitely play them tough. They will keep this score close. Cade McNamara had an awful game last week. But I do think Penn State gets the win here. They are starting a young 5-star quarterback, so could the Hawkeyes completely confuse him? Possibly. But not enough for the Iowa offense to take advantage of the turnovers. Penn State gets the win in a very hard-fought game, 27-17. The next game we have at 8 p.m. on the ACC network, number 17, North Carolina Tar Heels at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, kind of a letdown this year. Everybody thought that they were going to be better. I definitely thought that they'd be better than they are right now. They lost to West Virginia last week, like 17-6. So I don't know where the offense is, and I don't know how they lost to West Virginia because West Virginia is god-awful. But Drake May has not had a good year. I think it's the change in offensive philosophy. So Philip Lindsay is now the coordinator. Phil Longo, who is the air raid, is off to Wisconsin. So I think that's kind of holding him back just because they're not playing to his strengths. So he's having a good year yardage-wise, but he only has 4 touchdowns and 4 picks. And this is like a top 5 pick, guys. And he had like 4,500 yards last year. So what's going on? But they're not utilizing him in the passing game. They are still winning. So that's good. And he is still there. So if they need Drake May to be Drake May, he definitely can. But kind of awkward. So the game could potentially be close just because he's not doing really what he should be doing. But I do think the Tar Heels get the win here, 34-17. I think the game will only be close first half. Next game we have at 10:30 p.m. on Fox. We have the potential Heisman frontrunner, number 5 USC, Caleb Williams, going to Arizona State to play Rashada and the Sun Devils. So USC had a off week last week. So they were idle. They had basically 2 weeks to prepare for an awful Arizona State team. So to me, they're going to beat the brakes off of the Sun Devils. I think Caleb Williams will basically be going off this game. They'll have the backups in by the second half. But the main thing that I want to see is I want to see the USC defense feast. How do they look off a bye week with the rest? They've looked good their last 2 games after that first game versus San Jose State. So how do they look this week? I definitely think they get the win, and they get the win convincingly. Looking good on both sides of the ball. USC wins 52-14. The final game that we'll be looking at 10:30 on ESPN is Cal at number 8, Washington. This should actually be a pretty decent game because Cal does run the ball well. They are number 5 in the country, running for 242.7 yards per game. Now, why does that make it a pretty good game? Just because they're going to try to control the clock, keep the ball out of Michael Penix's hands. Now, no matter how much you control the clock, Penix is putting up the craziest stats this year. 1,332 yards passing, 12 touchdowns, 1 interception. This guy throws for 450 yards every week. It does not matter. This team is very consistent. Just like Notre Dame, they are the 2 most consistent teams so far this season. So every game, he's throwing for 450, 4 touchdowns. Write it down. So Washington will win 42-21. Penix will light it up just like he does every week. So that's my breakdown of the AP Poll Top 25 games for Week 4. Hit that like button and subscribe. Thanks.